All right, so in the live trading room, what we've got going on is a 5-minute system on the ES on the upper quadrant here. And this is one of the trades that we did today, coming in and announcing being short the market. Now, it did expire. A couple things that I'll point out just as a quick review of things that we can go over real quick is earlier today we had, first and foremost, a little bit of this long position and then the opening, and we were talking about bearish neutral day today. All day long, bearish neutral. So we had a lot of great setups today and trades. This trade maintained its short, trail to stop. That's what that orange or fuchsia color thing is. The initial stop, the trailing stop, and then finally it got out on the trailing stop function right there. I actually did point out in the room that made sense because the volume was starting to show some bullish convergence. We had the low in the market and we started to see bullish convergence take over. Let's take a gander here. When price makes newer low and indicator volume makes a higher low, it signifies the market can move up, and it did. And notice what it did. It stopped out of the long from way over here. Now that will be reflected in the column on the TradeStation Managers report right here. The TradeStation Managers report, it will reflect the position. And so what happened is it flipped into a buy and went right out of the buy. And then it went net short. A new short position triggered. That's what's being reflected right now currently, folks, on the Trade Managers tab. It is showing that the current position on a 5-minute strategy, short 2 contracts at 27.73.5, current price 70.25, strategy P&L, you can see it right there. Strategy was at 12.30, and so that you know, it's the trade room, the workspace in which that trade is generated is in the room that you're in, the trade room algo, and you can see that by the trade, that's the workspace. So I'm not showing a trade strategy from a different room. This is what you're staring at. This is the signal. This is a setup that's reflected in this chart. It shows up right there. So that's where we have, number one, where that strategy is coming from. The overall day, it just shows you what the overall strategy. What makes this really unique about the room is that we come in with what we believe the market condition is, and then as we trade what we see. What we see is continued deterioration in the advanced decline in the market. We see, so we have that strategy combined with the undertone breadth of the market as it relates to the S&P. So this is the futures up here, and this is the spiders down here. This does not have a strategy. There's no strategy in that box. The only thing that box is there for is to have, because we can't have too much information on the chart, you won't be able to see it. So therefore, this box underneath gives us, and I don't know, maybe we can make it a little bit, we can fool around with the width and things like that nature as we move on in life. But I would like to look at the trend of the advancers versus the trend of the decliners. And that graphically tells me, wow, it broke out. It's making, the decliners are starting to, I mean, this is not a positive day. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it is turned expressly, and it's remained negative. It's not like early in the day it turned positive and then negative and then it's coming back and then lunchtime. It's just been negative trend all day long, and that's really a hard thing to reverse. So there's no call to action at the very least. Do we want to be a buyer? The algo went long because there was a call to action to go long, quickly got out, reversed the trade. End of story. All right. Next, this is, so that will be reflective always. That will be reflective in the, and this is what we wanted to make sure that we had the strategies up that you can follow and we can see what's going on. Next, for the live room or the algo room, this is for the spiders. And the spider was long. We made mention, in fact, in the video that I put out yesterday, the market went long on a buy, which is great. It had a stop, and there's your stop level. Number one, it did move up, and if it had closed greater, we would have seen further upside. But what happened is it didn't. It stopped out, and it reversed and went short. That current position short reflects on the chart, reflects right here in the spiders. What is that current position? Right there. And it tells you what the strategy is. All right, so that's what we have for the spiders. Next, again with the VXXB, same thing. It had it went short. It didn't take out the low. It took a loss. It went back in. And now what's the VXXB? It shows right here. VXXB, the volatility ETN is long. That's the strategy price. It tells you what time the strategy was filled and what it was. It was a high closed doji, and it shows you your strategy based on the amount of shares, how much the trade is up. All right. Next, final, last, you can see crude oil. It's long. Here's the crude oil trade today. We've had a couple short-term trades today, as you can see, and all these little things have nicked and picked at the market. We avoided any major movement in here. This was right ahead of the crude oil supply inventory report. And it finally went in. It trailed a stop. Yes, it let some profits go, but it trailed a stop. Here it went short, trailed a stop, and then it's not done nothing ever since. Volume's up. Market, you want to talk about sideways. Wow. Anyway, the Algo optimizer's done all right there for you guys. Now, in essence, this tells you exactly what's going on. It shows that its current position is long, and that might be hard to see. And this is what we were reflecting before. Might be hard to see what it's doing. And so here's where you could say, well, what's the current position? Long, where's it long at? What's the current price, and is it making, what's its position? When did it get in? And then finally, the same thing for the euro currency. And as you can see, the euro currency is flat. The euro currency today was not a expressly bad day. It wasn't a good day. It's had a phenomenal run. We've gotten some great trades out of this in the last week, 2 weeks, in fact, since we've had this room open in this format with the Algo optimizer. First trade today, it had a trade. It was profitable at one point, and it scaled. It triggered out an exit. Next thing, it triggered another buy, had a couple ticks profit, exit. Triggered another buy with a couple tick loss. So basically not a huge performance there out of the euro currency. Anyway, that's where we stand with the trades, and for day trading purposes, we will continue to maintain the systems. Maintaining means if the overall ranges expand or contract, we will adjust the profit functionality, and these are all based off of, for the most part, Algo 17 Extreme. So we format those by looking at what time can we trade. These systems are all designed to trade on or about the time that we're in the room, and they all exit at the end of the day. So if you think about it, you have 175 minutes. Well, 180 minutes is 3 hours. So end time here is 1600 minus 3 hours, means at 1 o'clock or 12:55, this system stops trading. So that's because it's the live room. I don't think it's fair to have an algo system generate profits and then come into the room and say, oh, look how well it did, but you weren't here because it was overnight. I think what's important and is fair, and I'm sure you may say this, yeah, that makes sense. I want to know what's happening now. I think a guest yesterday had that, and it's like, well, I don't know what's happening right this very second, but if you want, there's algo trades generated here in the algo room, and those will be generated, and you can track and follow those. And this is a very, I'm not sure if this, for a lot of people, what they do is they actually pay boatloads of money to trade off signals, and they give that to different brokerage firms to piggyback trades. Here you can get those trades live in front of you, and we'll be maintaining these systems. This is the flavor of where we wanted to go. And then in the main room, of course, we use our discretionary input and say, hey, and if you join me back into the main room, I'll just bring this up to speed. in the main room, we're saying, hey, the biotech, I don't know if it's going to support, but if it does, biotech's into a very strong level of support, and we'll see if it holds, and we'll see if we get at least a 15-minute buy signal. What happened? Literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 3 hours and 30 minutes went by, and we held almost, and then finally broke the weekly support in biotech. There was no call to action, and that's why we have our, and since this is, we're using this device, I'll bring and introduce to you what we're referencing here. This is the biotech. We are looking at that strong support in the IBB based off older pivots and other information we were using. And so we were watching to see if perhaps maybe this generated a momentum change. And the first thing we would be watchful for is to see if that support held. It didn't. What do we do? Nothing. No action taken, no call to action at that point in time. So for the main room, we go over the trades that not only are we in our advisory service with the newsletter, obviously, and that's what we have on our screen. Akamai Technologies, unreal. Long that in a market that's diving, and Akamai up, not a big deal, it's up 52 cents, but relative to the overall market, it's strong. Seagate Technologies, we have a partial position there. We're trying to scale in. PSXP, we're in a profitable position, but it's giving back some of the profits, and so therefore it's just holding in there. We were looking at biotech as maybe a trade to the upside, or use Labu, or looking for maybe some other an option strategy to employ, but it never happened. So I think the combination between the algo room guys helping you to determine where the systems are at, long or short, and like we always said, if you think the market's going to be a buy and you walk in and you see the algorithm is short, the first thing is, I don't want to buy until at least that algo system is covered at short. Or the inverse is true. I think it's time to sell, but then you see the algo system is long. Well, I don't want to sell until that algo at least covers its long, and then I can at least go with a defined trend. Anyway, that's the makeup, and that's for looking at trend directions in the market and how to trade the signals moving forward. And then again, when we see option strategies that we want to employ, we will do so in the like and cover that in the main room using our Thinkorswim charts and analysis. But anyway, I think this will be a lot more, clearer for you to see the strategy positions and the entry and where things are at in the marketplace. Thank you all very much. This does not give you the cumulative, it gives you the total strategy profit and loss based on the current trade, not the trades that have executed already for the day. So if we go back and we take a look at what we see, performance type graph, in again, we're going through history here, but if we look at the periodic returns and we notice based on different strategies, what we are looking at as far as market performance. And that's what we're kind of going through and helping everyone try to make better trade decisions and stay on the right side of the market